Hello and welcome to Poetcast Unleashed, which is the official talk show of Poetry Unleashed. This is where we get to interview poets from the burgeoning English-speaking poetry scene in Copenhagen. My name is Nico Vernaccini. I am a playwright and a philosopher, and with me today I have Dave. Hi, Dave. Dave Wood.
Hi, Nikolai.
Um,
Thank you so much for this. I'm excited.
Is there like an introduction you'd like to do for yourself, or?
I mean, I have that one that I wrote for Arena to read out, but it's I can't. I don't think I could read it out myself without bursting into flames.
Right.
Yeah, I'm from the UK originally. I've been here for like 6, 7 years, and I've been writing poetry and sporadically reading out for quite a long time. But actually, only in Copenhagen for the last 2 years, I think, and at Poetry Unleashed for the last year or so. So yeah, I did a lot of I did a lot of writing poems for myself and showing nobody for a lot of years, and now here I am on a some sort of live podcast. So I guess I'm showing people now.
Why did you start writing poetry in the first place?
Um, I'm not sure. I think it's probably because I couldn't write songs. Um, so it's kind of like it was my attempt to write song lyrics, going right back to being like 12 or 13. So I used to write a lot of nonsense poetry to try and make my friends laugh, I think, and a lot of song lyrics to try and make friends laugh, and then a lot of angsty teenage stuff, like I think everybody. And it's sort of progressed since then as a creative outlet, I suppose.
What's the difference between writing songs and writing poetry? Why can you do one but not the other?
Because I can't sing, so it's like there's a stopgap after a certain point of writing and thinking of ideas, but then I can't make the ideas come that are in my head into the world because my voice is not good.
But aren't there many great singers who can't sing?
Yeah, all my favorite singers can't sing. That's a
Right.
favorite good lyric from David Berman. But yeah, I don't know. I think you still have to sing well to sing badly, and I can't do. I haven't got the confidence for it. You have to have a bit of swagger or something, and like being slightly awkward on stage and mumbling through words. I don't know. I'm not. I think it's bad enough listening to me mumbling poetry than trying to do something with a bit of tune.
Right. What was your experience like in school?
It was pretty good, Like I always feel a bit awkward with that question because I know that the normal response, I guess, is that lots of people had trouble or it was hard, and I feel bad almost that I had a pretty good time at school. Like I enjoyed it. I had good friends, and like was really bad at some subjects, but it sort of was weighted by enjoying others. So I hated science and maths and loved history and English, anything with words, I guess. So yeah, I was like pretty normal, just a normal guy, like in the middle, never that good at like anything, I think, but pretty fine at most things, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I did. Having said that, I did then have like lots of years of nightmares that I was like back at school. But I think that's just a common thing, right? Of when you leave. I was very pleased to turn 18, but that's not because I hated school. It was just because I wanted to not be at school anymore. Does that make sense? It's like it's just wanting to grow up thing, I suppose.
Yeah. I guess I know what you're talking about. I also had subjects that I really excelled at, and then others that I just really couldn't concentrate. Uh,
Did you ever have a teacher who was like that teacher that people talk about? I'll always remember this teacher because of what they said.
yeah, I mean, I thought about it afterwards because I've heard people talk that way about teachers,
Mm.
and I guess yeah, sure. I mean, I can pinpoint uh, back in elementary school for sure. There was, I mean, I had an English teacher who was really good, and then there was a teacher I had in multiple subjects as well who was very warm and heartfelt and sort of had a personal relationship with each pupil. I also had like a math teacher who couldn't stand my guts, and
Yeah.
completely different, you know. And I guess my love hate relationship with authority comes from from yeah, this experience with the math teacher. But I've always, I feel like I've wasn't a very good student, but I'm good at learning.
Mm.
I love learning, and I
But
do it
just
on my
not
own
within
time.
like not within school environment, maybe.
No, I can sit still nowadays and sort of be in a classroom and
Yeah.
enjoy it, but not back then for sure.
Yeah. I think the worst thing about me being at school was that I chose my like, this is a very English thing, but I chose my university degree when I was like 16. And no power should be placed in the hands of a 16-year-old boy with regards to the direction of their future.
Right.
But that was a shame. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty good. I think it's good to have some teachers that like are bad, right? Because then you can see the weakness of authority.
Sure. Sure. That's a lesson in and of itself.
Yeah,
Have you always been good at spelling and mastering the English language?
English was always my favorite subject. I think, yeah, yeah. So I that was always what I enjoyed the most. Always good at spelling and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I can't really remember like if I was never exceptional at it, but I always thought that I was pretty good. Like the arrogance of a teenage boy. I
Sure.
had that. I had that about English, I think, and like I was a sort of I guess that it's a term that didn't exist at the time, but like a sort of fuckboy thing of reciting poetry and stuff. Yeah, I did that. Carrying books around. Yeah, that's the sort of thing.
Sure.
Like going there used to be a really big bookshop in Oxford near where I grew up that like was so beautiful. So we used to go there on like dates and stuff, and then I'd buy books, obviously never read them, like and like Nietzsche and like stuff that a 15-year-old boy would try and show off. No one was impressed in retrospect.
Mm.
But yeah, that was me. English was always my subject.
That's how I got into French films from the 50s and 60s. Is because of a cute girl who recommended them to me, and I didn't see her more than once, but I've stuck with the French films ever since.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of sure that's how I chose my subject degree. So I was thinking about that recently. I read something where somebody said the reason why they chose to study anthropology is because they fancied a girl who'd studied it, and I was like, oh fuck, I think I did that too. Like
Yeah.
that's probably why I studied theology and philosophy at university. I think that's why I did it was because I knew somebody who was a girl that I fancied and was going off to a much better university to do it, as if it would impress her. I don't really know. I mean, it's hard to put logic on the teenage brain, but you know,
Do you think that good spelling is necessary to become poet?
no, the opposite. I think. I mean, that like the I was quite lucky, I suppose, in like the education that I had is like the emphasis was way more on literature than language. Like I think that for the best poetry isn't really constrained, and the poetry that you're forced to study at school and stuff that I think is probably the reason why lots of people are turned off poetry is sort of old English stuff where the language is different or archaic and it seems quite formulaic. And the best modern poetry, I think, is way more free and loose.
Hmm.
And I quite like that that's broken. Like I quite often make up words. I think not like nonsense words, but words that I think sound like they make sense but aren't right. And breaking like there's still a drilled in British education thing of like never start a sentence with but and or
Hmm.
because and stuff, and breaking that for poetic reasons is still this shows how repressed and British I am. That it is still quite exciting. I think. Um, I think that like best poetry is broken. Like, and I guess that like God knows what the language is progressing so fast now. So I don't know what it would look like. Like that like it's even less important now, isn't it? With texting and like online speaking and stuff. I wonder if it's going to be like super different.
Hmm.
Sometimes like reading some like Gen Z stuff, it's like reading a different language, and that's quite a cool. I think it's quite a cool thing that it's developing.
Cool. All right. So yeah, the millennial man
Mhm.
can say that that's cool. So keep it on going,
Do you think?
Generation
Do you
Z.
think so? I mean, I think it's a bit scary because I like sometimes because I don't understand it and everything. You don't
I'm of the
understand it.
opinion that the lingo that was developed when I was young was the
Yeah.
peak, and
Yeah.
everything
Okay.
since then has just gone downhill. No cap.
But don't you think that like the generation below us, well, like when I say, I bet when Boo's older, he's 3 now. I'll say like, oh, that's quite a cool song or whatever, and that'll be the equivalent of like my dad saying like, oh, what a groovy tune or something. Like it'll be
Sure.
really embarrassing.
Yeah. Oof.
And it's coming, man.
I know Lewis Carroll. He invented a lot of fictitious words, and he was very playful with language and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. There's like a British sort of almost psychedelia thing, isn't there, with all like nonsense poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I quite like that, but it's a bit out there. I'm trying to read some like quite a bit of William Blake at the moment,
Sure.
which is nuts. I don't know if you've read much, but yeah, like all the sort of weird semi sort of opiate dream stuff.
Mm-hmm. That was
Yeah, it's a bit
some of the first science fiction, though, wasn't it, or what?
from Blake.
Yeah, wasn't in
It was
that
just
period.
yeah, kind of yeah. It was like the mid 19th century. So they're all sort of weirdly romantic about like the Middle Ages and but they're all dressing like different and sort of there's a acceptance of like homosexuality and stuff. So it's quite futuristic, but they also like Blake was obsessed with Christ and
Mm.
and so there's a bit of strangeness. And he's also a really weird dude, I think.
I
But
mean, the his work that I know of, the best is Tiger Burning Bright,
yeah,
because
that's
it's
that's one of the
appeared, and
poems
I
that
don't know how many comic books I've read throughout the years where it kind of appears.
that's one of the poems that's in the English like psyche. Like that's I haven't I don't think I've ever read it, but I think I probably know half the words to it because it's just when you're a kid, it's everywhere for some reason,
Mm.
just in the air, like a fire in the night or whatever it is. Yeah. Did you have to when you were at school? Did you have to learn poems off by heart?
Not that I can remember. No. Um, no, that came later in high school and English and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, I'm not really that. I guess I'm not the best at memorizing stuff when it comes down to it.
Mm.
I've listened to "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor yesterday, and obviously that's like a very famous song with a very famous text and stuff, and that was sort of encoded in me. There was some muscle memory that kicked in.
Yeah.
I do it in falsetto. I sing it completely in tune, so that's
Completely in tune.
yeah, completely in tune, and I try to hit her register as well.
Mm.
But do you have like a favorite word or something?
Uh, yeah, there's a few I think, and I think I'm afraid to say that it again goes down to being a bit of a stuck-up teenager and thinking of fancy words. And in my poetry, I don't really use um, like long words or overly descriptive stuff. I think I prefer like simple and bodily language, but I like the word mellifluous, like to mean like flowing like honey. I think
Okay.
that's like a very beautiful word. Like Latin root words are very nice, I think. But be I would sooner die than use them in a poem, I think, because I think it sounds like you're backing yourself too much when you use language like that.
But if it's not supposed to be used in poetry, where is it supposed to be used?
Yeah, true. It's someone else's poetry, I think.
All right, right. Yeah, I mean,
So
I've always liked Celador. That was Tolkien's favorite word. He just liked the pronunciation of
yeah,
it, Celador, and it sounds like a Tolkien word.
yeah. One of his
Um,
like his languages. Have you read much Tolkien?
yeah, I've read The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And but I
Big
never
big teenage boy energy from reading them.
for sure, for sure. And I mean, I have adult friends who still try to read them once a year or twice a year. And yeah, sometimes I find passages online and I just sort of get mesmerized by the language he uses. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah. He was amazing. Hey, the that's another cool thing about growing up in Oxford or near Oxford was going to the pubs where they like he wrote. I think there's a it's the Eagle and Child where Lewis Carroll wrote some stuff. They had their literary group. I can't remember what it's called now, but yeah, they'd meet in the back of a pub, and you can go there. So the place is filled with, especially around the time when the films came out,
Right.
an extreme number of nerds mixing with like Oxford students,
Yeah.
and a mix of the two. But yeah, I never really got into the whole Tolkien world. I've got a friend recently who was saying that they only read like sci-fi and fantasy stuff now.
Okay.
And I was like, but yeah, I mean, there's so many books in the world, but that's one area that I've not like. I mean, in a way, it's nice to like keep the genre for yourself for the future.
Hmm.
So I have this, I have it. Read again, Lord of the Rings as an adult, and maybe it would be like either really, really disappointing or like completely mind blowing. I don't know.
Do you do
Yeah,
that? Do you compartmentalize stuff for the future so you can enjoy it not now but enjoy it later?
yeah, I've done it before. I think, which is a weird thing to do, isn't it? It was a bit like denying pleasure, but I've done it with music. I think, or like I know that I've only really listened to three Beach Boys albums, and I
Hmm.
know that they have like five or six other ones that are really good.
Sure. I mean,
Uh,
you've heard Pet Sounds, I imagine, right?
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Pet
Sure.
Sounds and Surfs Up, I've
Yeah.
listened to.
All right.
Like those are the two. But I know that they're like Smiley Smile. There's other stuff to like
Yeah.
deep dive into.
Yeah.
I'm kind of keeping it.
Uh, I mean, there was a film that came out a few years ago with John Cusack and Paul Dano, who both play Brian Wilson at different times of his life, and they kind of go
Yeah,
through. It's a nice little chronology of their career and stuff.
yeah. That's the music which is like a poem, like some of Brian Wilson's lyrics. Like Until I Die is one of the best poems about death,
Hmm.
I think. And but then again, he's married it with unbelievable singing voice, which is the beauty.
They knew how to
Yeah,
harmonize.
yeah, big time. But yeah, I've done it. I've done it with that. I think I do compartmentalize. There's probably something that, like, if you therapized it, would be really like repressed and denying of doing that. But there's so much content everywhere all the time.
Sure.
I feel like I'm trying to keep some keep some away and not like absorb it all at once on a surface level. You know.
But isn't that just sort of waiting a little bit? Sort of not what's the word? I mean, you can indulge immediately, or can kind of you can put it off for as long as you can, right?
Hmm.
And there's this concept in Danish, the happiness of anticipation,
Yeah.
which is something that I always have in the back of my mind. I'm very good at putting nice things sort of ahead of me and say, well, this is going to be a reward for completing a hard task or whatever.
Hmm.
I do it with films as well. I'm a film buff, and there's some classics I haven't seen. Um,
Hmm.
but let's not get too much into that. That's embarrassing. Uh, do you have
You've
any
seen
like?
all. You haven't seen Austin Powers 2, but you have seen Austin Powers 1.
Right? Yeah, I saw the first and the third one, but I haven't seen the second
Yeah,
one.
you're saving it.
Do you have like other writers you like or you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm trying to go through everything that's being published at the moment by Lolly Press, Lolli,
Mm-hmm.
who they do a lot of Danish language texts, like modern literature that's translated into English. Obviously, I'm constricted by not being able to read in Danish. But they're like, for example, I'm sat on my bed, so I have good access to like this, which is kind of famous, Olga Around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything they publish at the moment is amazing. But in terms of authors, I come back to, the number one is probably, and this is to go back to school, is a completely direct lineage from a single teacher who was obsessed with mid 20th century American literature. Um, and all of them, Raymond Carver is the number one. Like everything he writes, I will reread 1,000 times. Um, he's like the he's what I kind of aspire to in terms of, which is ridiculous to say, but like he's my benchmark of how sparse you can be with language and how like particular with words and not fancy and direct. So yeah, I really love his writing, and his poetry especially is kind of unknown. I think he's very known for his short stories,
Hmm.
which are very like to the point, and they're almost like film scenes. Have you read any of his short stories?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah,
What
they're
has
really
he
good.
written?
I'll he, I don't know. He's written some stuff which has actually then been made into films. So yeah, what we talk about when we talk about love is the like famous collection of short stories, and it's yeah, it's great. But his yeah, they're short stories that are almost like a film scene or a couple of film scenes, and they're really maybe they're a bit bleak, but they're all about like normal life,
Hmm.
and I like that. I think what I gravitate towards, I guess, in all art is depictions of normal working people and normal relationships and like yeah, the blood and shit of normal human life.
Sure. Do you recommend his poetry as well?
Yeah, I have one. If I can read it to you, if you like,
Please.
from this collection, which is a extremely poorly printed collection of all of his poems, like really cheaply printed. You know, when you buy a book and like the half the pages, the ink is like really light and the paper's extremely thin. This is what this is like, and it's completely unedited. But yeah, this one is called Deschutes River. This sky, for instance, closed, grey, but it has stopped snowing, so that is something. I'm so cold that I cannot bend my fingers. Walking down to the river this morning, we surprised a badger tearing a rabbit. Badger had a bloody nose, blood on its snout up to its sharp eyes. Prowess is not to be confused with grace. Later, 8 mallard ducks fly over without looking down. On the river, Frank Sandmeyer trolls for steelhead. He has fished this river for years, but February is the best month, he says. Snarled, mittenless, I handle a maze of nylon. Far away, another man is raising my children, bedding my wife, bedding my wife. So it's kind of bleak, bleak
Damn.
stuff, but I really love it.
What do you like
It's
about it?
it's just like really sparse, I think, and I love and that like the final line, "Far away, another man is raising my children." Is such a punch, like a gut punch. I think he's so good at that, like simple, like you know, complete punch difference and like this really sparse language and the repetition of bedding my wife, bedding my wife. I think it's so harsh. Yeah, it's really good. I think it's like super cold feeling from that poem, and like the way that he describes the river and the motion of it. I think is great. I guess all of that literature, like Carver especially, the theme is just like I'm a lonely man, which I'm not, but I really like the punch of that of the way that they convey it. I'm very happy in my life,
Hmm.
but I like reading that literature, I guess.
Yeah.
That reads into
Escapism,
people.
right?
Yeah,
Do you watch Danish films and stuff like that, or Scandinavian
I,
films in general?
yeah, I have done. Yeah, I tried to. We're trying to get into it a bit more now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some. Which ones have you got in mind?
I mean, there are lots of them that sort of deal with the theme of loneliness. I'd say that
Yeah,
obviously, like a big well known one would be Melancholia by Lars von Trier.
Hmm.
which is it's about the end of the world, but it's about like how two sisters handle it differently.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, they are. There's another one called Wilbur kill wants to kill himself.
Okay, it's a good title.
Yeah, it's about 20 years old and stuff, and yeah, I think it is a. I mean, yeah, it is like it is a Danish production, but it's set in the UK. Um, and it's got Mads
Okay.
Mikkelsen in it and stuff like that. So I mean that's a recommendation that's fun and sort of old.
Yeah, I think it's quite a big theme in like Scandinavian literature, isn't it? I guess the loneliness, but then that's just all like Northern European existential. It's raining outside, and I'm cold and depressed, kind of thing, kind of vibe, which I guess I'm drawn to also.
And
Um,
it's not unique for the Nordic countries. I mean, it's something you find in many different cultures.
hmm, yeah, but yeah, his writing is great, and I'll look up that. I guess I'm drawn. I find kinship in that. Lots of Danish art being similarly themed.
Do you have anything else you'd like to read for us?
I can read from my one of my poems if you like.
Yeah, can you plug it
Uh,
as well?
Yeah, I will. This is the part where I do burst into flames because I'm not so good at doing it. Yeah, my book here it is. Dadhead was released in almost exactly a year ago now on Super Time Books in Copenhagen, and yeah, it's all poems about being a dad, but it isn't as boring as that. I'll just pick one to read. It's a weird thing reading them a bit because they weren't really designed to be read aloud, and people have asked me to read them out loud. And now, you know, when you the best time to edit something is when it's like you press send. So this is like that times 1,000, where I would edit all of them now. Here we go. I read this one today and thought maybe actually I was quite pleased with it, which is a weird feeling. Anyway, also, um, it's called Orange Boy. Another absentee snare of anxiety, an ache-brain reason to get out of bed. Something like, the orange juice is tasting really good right now. The one where the pulp is almost too much, too pulpy. Or perhaps I'm surprised that my hangover isn't quite so bad, something to do with luck. Or maybe it's just because, like always, I have to march on like water, and time must be processed, chewed in like cud and digested. Returning to the pastures to look for the green and smell, look for the lush. Yes, there we go. The um, The book is still for sale in Super, I
Mm-hmm.
think. I mean, I haven't got the confidence to ask how many are left, but a few, I think. And yeah, it's a still a weird thing to see it in on a bookshelf, but yeah, it was fun, a fun project.
Do you suffer from imposter syndrome? Do you think?
Uh, Not really. I mean, I suppose to a certain extent, but then I have like um the the belief that well, like, can you have imposter syndrome, but like, and also know that if you just think of yourself as something, then you become that thing. Because like I know that that is logically the case, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you, I know that in like every aspect of life, like relationships, work, whatever, even walking down the street, like if you put your shoulders back and look up a bit, then you like portray a different person, and you become that person. If you think of yourself as shy, then you become shy.
Mm.
That kind of thing. So I don't I try not to think of myself like that because if I do too much, then I'll become that.
Mm.
Um, it's it's also really apparent like parenting now. Like we made the mistake a couple of times of telling Boo that he's like, oh, it's okay, you're a bit shy, and then he starts repeating it, and you're like, fuck,
Mm.
like you created this like personality
Mm.
and like allowed you to, but it's not okay,
Can't
you
you
know. So
reverse it? You think?
yeah, I think I'm trying to now. I'm like telling him, no, no, you're not shy, whatever. You're just being shy now, but like whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing with parenting, I guess, is that it's like all together down the long slide. But yeah, it's so yeah, I try and believe in myself. You have
Sure.
to.
I mean, people publish your stuff and people listen to you and applaud and stuff. So, and they want you to read aloud and they invite you on podcasts. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Sometimes I know from myself that sometimes my image, my self image isn't a realist when it comes down to it. Because there's all
In what,
these,
in what way?
well, there's all these sort of external signals that
Mm,
tell one story, but there's still a voice inside of me that says, "Well, you can't do anything. You're not worth it. Who would ever like what you write and stuff like that."
mm,
So sometimes it's about like taking, understanding the outward signals, external signals, and then saying, "Well, okay, I guess I'm better than I think I am." You know.
mm. But I like, I've got like quite a core memory when I was a kid of going to a rugby club Christmas party in Wales, right? So that all these Welsh kids with which is a completely different accent to my accent. I must have been maybe 11 or 12, and so I'm the only, well, me and my brother are the only people in the room who have a different accent to everyone else, and we are obviously not from there. I just realized I could just pretend to have that accent. So it was like a real, and so I just put it on. I mean, God knows what it sounded like to the other kids. But I kind of realized like no one gives a fuck, and you could just do whatever you want, like almost, and not in like a psychopathic way, but it's like you just believe in whatever, or like no one like cares about you as much as you do. You can
Sure.
just like become whatever you want in different like situations. It's quite liberating, and I've tried to like I try and hold on to that. Obviously, it's not hard. It's not easy because you get like weighed down by everything else. But yeah, it's I try and like stay positive, I guess, as much as everyone else.
Yeah. I use it as well. This thing of imagining myself further down the path than I actually am.
Mhm.
That's sort of that's a motivation as well, is to say, well, you're a poet now, just deal with it, or you're a XYZ. You can't act like you're not, even though there's a part of you that won't believe it. It is what it
Mm.
is.
I remember like one of the first times I came to Poetry Unleashed, someone standing outside with Christian whilst he smoked cigarettes, and I sort of smoked secondhand smoked. Someone coming up to both of us and saying and addressing us as poets,
Hmm.
like someone who I didn't know. I remember thinking that's like it's quite a nice thing, and I am that now.
You are that now. To everyone else, you are.
Yeah. But like it's such a meaningless label in a sense. Like it doesn't mean anything. Like to you, like when it's I don't know, it's that whole like thing of you judge everyone on their actions and yourself on your intentions, isn't it?
Right. Right.
And so your own harshest critic, whatever, is always true. But I don't not think of myself as a poet, but I definitely have like I don't like label it as that, I guess. I
But
don't mind.
that's because it's stigmatized. It's because you think it's pretentious to be
Yeah.
it. You know,
Yeah.
it's easy to call yourself a poet, but it's difficult to sit and write. The same
Yeah,
thing
and
can
it's
be
also
said
like
about being a philosopher or being a musician or being an artist. These are sort of yeah.
yeah. And I think I don't know if it's the same in Denmark, but like if there's a real like take you down attitude in the UK. Like if someone describes himself as something, it means that they think of themselves as being like a brilliant example of that almost.
Sure.
So if someone came up to me and introduced, well, different now, but like if you're 20 something at a party and someone came up to me and said, I'm an artist, I would probably have thought that just like means you're unemployed and a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's not mutually exclusive. You can be an artist and be an unemployed dickhead, but you have to do the art to call yourself an artist. We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the same mentality here in Denmark. It's called the law of Jente. You must have been exposed to it.
Yeah. Which is like a pretty positive thing, but I guess that is the downside, right? Is there's like a almost pleasure in drag and bringing people down.
Yeah, I'm reminded of I think it's Tony Robinson who talks. No, not Tony Robinson. Toni Morrison. Sorry, Freudian slip there. Who talks about the difference between humility and staying humble and staying modest.
Mhm.
That there's a difference, and one is afraid, one is fear based, and the other one is a bit more empathetic. I can't really remember the specifics, but she's great. She has some really good thoughts on all sorts of different things. That's one of my favorite writers, I guess, Toni Morrison. Even though I thought it was Tony Robinson for a second, but there's no familiarity there. Listen, are you working on anything right now, Dave?
I'm trying to write, just like get back into a routine of writing. So I'm putting together a collection of my poems that I've written whilst I've been running, which is pretty boring. But like the Dad collection, I hope it's more than the sum of its parts.
Sure.
So writing a lot when I'm running, but like using the rhythm of running and some longer form stuff, some of which I've been reading out of Poetry Unleashed actually, and because that's such a great community for like testing stuff, um, and seeing how it feels coming out of your mouth. So yeah, I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to write some longer form stuff, which is a bit of a drag. But like, I mean, even more than saying that you're a poet, saying you're writing a novel
Yeah.
is the biggest red flag in the whole world of I'm unemployed and a bit of a dickhead.
Sure.
But that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm trying to,
Besides making like a rock opera, like a conceptual album, that's
yeah, in your bedroom with the one synthesizer, yeah,
sure.
and a cape, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe that's next. I'll give that a go.
All right. Well, you can listen to Dave recite his poetry at Poetry Unleashed. It is a monthly event. You can buy his book Dadhead at Supertime Books in Copenhagen. Thank you very much for being here, Dave.
Thanks, man. It's been great.
All right. See you.
Thank you.